Hello and welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome to the Realistic Floor Plan Rendering Masterclass with Nano Banana. This one took a bit of time. With the release of Nano Banana 2, we didn't want to rush into creating the content. We took some time to experiment, understand and analyze strengths and weaknesses of Nano Banana 2 and create a workflow that actually makes sense for architecture. And along the way, we also created some unique floor plan rendering styles with the new Nano Banana 2. We already shared two different videos on Nano Banana and Nano Banana Pro previously, but if you're visiting this course for the very first time, you don't have to watch the other videos. This segment is planned perfectly for beginners, so it should be extremely easy to get started with this segment video. In this course, we'll be focusing on turning our CAD drawings into compelling visuals, whether it's realistic renders, stylized visuals, or even clean isometric projections. And more importantly, the goal of this masterclass is not just to share prompts with you, but to share the idea and process behind it, so you can take this and adapt to any workflow that you want. We'll get started from the very basics of how to access Nano Banana 2 in Google AI Studio and move forward step by step on how to export an AutoCAD drawing in the proper format for AI rendering. We'll also be introducing JSON prompting, a unique workflow that we have been experimenting in the recent times that gives you full control over your images and renderings. We'll focus on creating a repeatable process that you can take and adapt for any project that you're working on. Because at the end of the day, the tools will keep evolving, but the process is extremely important and it makes you efficient. I'm also adding timestamps here so you can quickly navigate and revisit specific sections and use this as a reference whenever you need. By the end of this masterclass, you will have a clear and structured workflow to create realistic and stylized floor plan rendering with Nano Banana, something you can rely on rather than experimenting fresh each time that you try. I'm Salman, an architect and an illustrator, so let's get started. So Nano Banana 2 is a significant shift and it's not just a simple upgrade. The major one being speed versus quality, because now we're getting both of these at the same time. What used to take minutes on the previous versions is now possible within a few seconds, making it really efficient for rapid iterations in real-life workflows. Secondly, pro-level quality is now a standard. We're getting outputs with better lighting, sharper textures, and even refined details. Another major upgrade is the prompt understanding. AI model understands the prompts more precisely and gives us the proper result. This factor becomes really critical when we're dealing with technical drawings like floor plans, sections, or elevations. And this allows us to focus more on the style and not worry too much if the AI will mess up or change specific parts of the floor plan. At the same time, we're getting full control over the resolution, starting from 512 pixels and up to 4K in just a few seconds. We've also shared a detailed video on exploring all these updates on Nano Banana 2 on our YouTube channel, so make sure to check that out when you find the time. Let's apply all these updates and test them practically on the next topics. If we head over to Google AI Studio, this is what the homepage will look like. On the left side, we have this playground tab, which shows all the previous canvases that we generated images from. And you can take a look at your history on the left side. And on the right side, you can choose what model you want to use for image generations. And we have Nano Banana 2, which is the current model. And we also have Nano Banana Pro, the previous versions of Nano Banana, and other AI models right here. And you can also choose between images, videos, and all the other models within Google ecosystem from these tabs on the top right. And all the subsequent settings related to that specific model are located right below here. So we can choose the aspect ratios of the images that we want. And on the new version of Nano Banana, we have a lot more aspect ratios to work with. And this gives us a lot of flexibility with the image outputs. We can choose between resolutions and we can choose between the thinking level. We can also choose if you want the model to search on Google for specific results. Could be Google search as well as image search. And this will ultimately affect output. So before we begin, we need to link something called API key. An API key is a unique code that is linked to your specific Google account, which can be used to track your usage. And it basically gives you permission to use the specific AI models that you want to use. So it's as simple as that. And let's see how you can link an API key. So in my case, I already do have an API key that I use for all my projects. And let me actually show you my building settings. And this is what an API key looks like. So I've created a key and I've named it as image rendering. So I created I created it last year. Take a look at the amount that I've spent here. So I've been using this from December 2025 and we are currently in the end of March. So that's like 4 months. And the price that I've spent here, it's about 2.5 thousand. So that is around, it's around 25 to $30, which is pretty nominal compared to other AI platforms. In case I need to buy a subscription, that would actually cost me much more than that. So here I'm only paying for the amount of images that I'm generating. And also for most users, you might actually get 1 month of free usage on Google, and it's only built after 1 month. And I kind of use Google AI Studio for almost every purpose. Considering my usage and the cost, I think it's pretty nominal, which is why I suggest Google AI Studio for most cases. Of course, it does have its own pros and cons as well, but to be able to pay for what you use, I think it's pretty good model to choose from. Right. So let me actually show you how to create a new API key and link it to your account. So right here it says link API key. So if you actually generate something without linking the API key, you will not be able to do that. And you can see right here there is a locked key. So we'll only be able to unlock this key when we link an API, create an API and link it. So let me show you how it works. So here it says that choose a project, set up a billing and link an API key. So I've already created a key. So it automatically links it to the API. Let me actually show you how to create a new API key. On the top, we have create API key. You can name your key whatever you want. It simply does not matter. And you can choose a project. You can create a new project, or you can create a new project and you can like name your project. Just name it Gemini and let's choose create key. So this is the new key that I've created. And you need to actually set up your billing before you actually start using the API key. So for that, you need to set up billing and you'll have to choose your billing account. The billing account is basically your Google account, which you need to have access to your credit card or your debit card, and you can link that to your billing account. So whatever images we create here are directly linked to your Google account. So in my case here, I've already set up my Google billing account. So it's directly getting linked. And in case you are doing it for the very first time, you just need to follow the instructions. As it shows, it's pretty straightforward and you can create your API key. So once you have your API key, you can get back to your Google AI Studio and you can start generating images right here, and you can choose the unlock key and you can select key, and you can see that you chose right here you're using paid API key image rendering as part of the project that I've created, and we are good to go. So this is how you can create and link your API key. So here's an example of a flow plan that we have in AutoCAD, and let's see how we can take this flow plan and add it into Google AI Studio. What are the processes involved and how we can do this seamlessly for getting the best results. So the example that we have here is a very simple flow plan, and all the elements here are categorized in different layers. So if you have watched the very first video of Nano Banana flow plan rendering, which we posted in this course, you might have noticed that for better results, we had to turn off a lot of layers like the text, dimensions, and a lot more. But in this new version of Nano Banana 2, we don't really need to do a lot of tweaks on the AutoCAD drawing because the AI has actually gotten more powerful in understanding the text and the technicalities of the flow plan. So in most cases, you can export the flow plan as it is into a JPEG format. The only tweaks that I would probably do is maybe if you have any unconventional furnitures, something that is very odd shaped, you might need to change those because there is a possibility that the AI might not understand that specific component. But for most of the other cases, the text and dimensions will actually help the AI to generate better results. So in this example, let me just turn off these dotted lines. And as I mentioned, we need to export this as a JPEG image. There is a direct way to export it using the plot tool where we can choose this option called publish to JPEG. But the problem that I've noticed here is even if you actually plot it in the highest dimension, the output of the JPEG image looks a little blurred and the lines of the drawing were not of the highest quality. So the best alternative is to actually export this as a PDF, and we can do that by doing drawing to PDF, set it in an A3 or a larger size. Let's set the plot style to black and white and let's preview the drawing. I think this should be good to go. So let's plot this and save it as a PDF. Converting this PDF into a JPEG image is extremely simple. If you're using the Adobe PDF Viewer, you have the option here called Convert, and you will see this option here, which is the image format. You can use that and you can save this as a JPEG. Or if you don't have that, all you need to do is just open an A3 file in Photoshop, drag a PDF into this, and you can save this as a JPEG image. And another point that we've been emphasizing on the previous version of Nano Banana is that we had to export the plan drawing in specific A series, either A3, A4, or similar, because the AI platform at that specific point kept missing the aspect ratio of the drawing. So we had to find a way to actually overcome that. Whereas now on the new version of Nano Banana 2, we don't need to emphasize too much on exporting the drawing as an A series. It's better if you do it in A series because that further helps us image in Photoshop or in presentations, but it works perfectly fine without the A series as well. So now we have the plan drawing, and let's see how this works in Google AI Studio. Jump into Google AI Studio, start in your chat, link your API key. As per the settings, make sure you're on Nano Banana 2. The aspect ratio can be in auto, and you can choose a resolution depending on the output that you prefer. In this case, let's go with 4K. The thinking level can be minimal, and for simple outputs, you don't necessarily need to turn on these settings. Let's drag and drop the floor plan into the chat, and as for the prompts, I'll be using one from the prompt book. You will find this prompt book along with the download content on Gumroad. We have a detailed section in the later parts of this video where we walk through each of the prompt in the prompt book, and I give you insights on each of them. But for this one specifically, let's just copy a floor plan prompt. I would like to use prompt 12 from the PDF. So all I have to do is to just copy this prompt and paste it in the chat box. And this prompt also uses a reference image, which is this one. So I would need to either take a screenshot of this reference, or you can also find it in this folder called Plan for Download. All the floor plans are neatly named, and since we need a plan 12, let's just jump into the folder and drag the reference into the canvas. Click Run to create the output. We have the result, and the platform has neatly retained all the details of the floor plan, and it has stylized it into a high quality top view rendering. Of course, we have to compare this with the original one to see if there are any inconsistencies. So let's download the plan and drag and drop this on top of the cat drawing. Let's reduce the opacity, and honestly, the new Nano Banana 2 looks pretty impressive, and it has retained all the details of the floor plan. You can zoom in and you can see that almost all the details in the floor plan drawing has been exactly retained except for some really minor changes on areas like this side table right here. All the other details are pretty impressive, and this is an area that I mentioned earlier to not have any unconventional CAD drawings. As you can see, here we have circular layouts which possibly represent plans, and since we are doubtful about that, the AI also uses its imagination to reinterpret this. So we're not really sure if these are plans or any other design feature on the CAD drawing itself. So for more accurate results, we need to specifically use conventional CAD blocks, or what we can do is to just label them as plans or bushes. This will help the AI to generate better results and understand the technical drawing. The same has happened here, where the CAD blocks are not too conventional, and the platform has taken this in organic form and kind of like converted it into the stone blocks. So for better results, always stick to conventional ones or just label them on the floor plan before rendering them. So that is how you can use the system that we have created to render your floor plans from AutoCAD to get this kind of a realistic art. Of course, you can play around with the prompts and get creative and try to create a style of your own, because it's always better to find a style for yourself, whether you're a student or a professional. So the same prompt can be made more detailed by mentioning specific things. For instance, let's build the prompt here. We can use simple keywords, and this time, let's say beige marble flooring, grass and landscape outside of the plan, Italian style furnitures, black countertops, a few human figures sitting and walking in the space. So this was something that I wrote on the top of my head, but you do understand the point where you need to get creative in writing the prompts and try to figure out a style for yourself. Maybe we don't need to make everything look realistic. So let's say it's partially realistic and partly illustrated with patches and textures. Click Run and let's see what it does. So we have the result here, and we can see that this floor plan looks a lot more stylized and it has that illustrated quality to it. And one major jump in this specific AI model of Nano Banana 2 is that we don't really need to worry too much if there are any changes made on the floor plan because of the AI, and we can concentrate more on the rendering and the visual part of the presentation. So you can experiment with different keywords, different style of prompts, and different angles for the floor plan because the possibilities are quite endless. Let's take the same exact floor plan and prompt into Nano Banana Pro and Nano Banana 2 to understand the difference. So for this demonstration, I'll be using this prompt number 2 from the PDF. So let's copy that and add it into a new chat. As for the reference, let's just take a screenshot and add it into the canvas as well. Let's first start with Nano Banana Pro. So I've selected that model from the top right, and the images displayed will also change accordingly. The aspect ratio can be as it is, and the resolution can be in 4K. Click Run for the results. It takes close to 24 seconds, and we have the result. This is of course a really good rendering. Stylistically, all the elements of the floor plan are rated as it is. The furniture fabric, decor, and materiality are top notch. But there's one big problem here. The output does not look similar to the reference image that we provided. This will most probably turn into a huge problem when we want to maintain a consistent style across different drawings. Let's now retry the same with Nano Banana 2. Choose Nano Banana 2 from the top right and click Rerun. This time it takes much longer, but the output stays much closer to the reference that we provided. And actually, the textures look a lot better with a vibrant character, and the rendering actually looks much sharper. It has even added these human figures onto the floor plan, which was actually there on the original drawing. You will notice the difference when we place them side by side. The plan created on Nano Banana Pro is definitely good. It retains all the original elements of the floor plan, but if we take in consideration of creating a consistent style from a specific reference, then Nano Banana Pro falls short. Nano Banana 2 is a better option in those kind of specific areas. But does this experiment mean Nano Banana 2 is much better than the Pro version? In every aspect, there is a catch here. For example, let's take a look at this prompt, which turns a 2D floor plan into an isometric drawing. Let's copy that, create a new chat, choose Nano Banana Pro, and add this simple floor plan. Place the prompt and click Run, and you can see that within a few seconds, the Pro model has turned the floor plan into an isometric 3D. And of course, this stays true to the original floor plan that we provided. But if we use the same floor plan and the same reference in the Nano Banana 2 model, the output does disappoint a bit. From what I noticed is that the Nano Banana 2 version does not seem to understand the word isometric too much. I've actually tried that on a lot of experiments, and if we use the words like isometric, axonometric, or projected views, the output always stays flat. And when we place both the images side by side, you will notice the cause of this problem. The Pro version automatically adjusts the aspect ratio of the image to fit in an isometric view, whereas the Nano Banana 2 model retains the image ratio as it is, and as a result, it struggles to build an isometric view in that specific aspect ratio. This can be fixable. All you have to do is to choose an aspect ratio which you think the isometric drawing will fit in. In this case, I've chosen 4:3 and click Run. Of course, it's going to take much longer time, but the result this time will be on par with what we expected. The quality of the textures actually look a lot better than the Pro version, but it does have this kind of vibe while generating these technical isometric views. So keep that in mind if you want to trade speed or quality when switching between both of these models. This is a technique that I've been using recently, and it has completely changed the way we use AI, and it opens door for a lot of possibilities. And that is because this technique gives us full control over the image outputs. So to explain what a JSON prompt is, in a very simple language, it's basically an organized way of giving instructions to AI. For instance, if we want to generate an image, we usually write it as, create a modern house with glass and concrete, minimal style, and sunset lighting. So this is how normal prompting is done for most AI-based images, but a JSON prompt has a format like this. So it starts with an inverted bracket, and each part of the prompt is added into a category. Say, for instance, the modern house is added into style. The materials, again, we have mentioned that it's glass and concrete. That has been added into materials. Similarly, for lighting, mood, and the list can go on depending on how detailed you want to add the prompt. So this is more structured, and it's more clear for the AI to understand. So even though natural language works really well with Nano Banana and most other AI models. A JSON prompt is actually a lot more efficient when we want to generate technical drawings like flow plans, which we will be looking at in this course. So this is a lot more cleaner and structured. And just say you want to edit something here. So you can just go in and instead of modern, you can just type contemporary and simply rerun the prompt. And this will make the process a lot more efficient when doing it in a long term. That is a very simple explanation of JSON prompt. So let's jump into NanoBanana now and see how we can use this for generating the results that we want. So let's say we have a very simple flow plan like this. And what most people would do is to just add the flow plan into Google AI Studio. And most people will just type the prompt in natural language like create a modern 3D plan of this texture and details, right? And if we choose run, so we will obviously get a good result, no doubt about it. But the problem here is we do not have control over the textures or the materials, the lighting, and a lot of other things. And anybody who uses this prompt will get almost the same result. So what is the originality we'll have in the design? Because as of now, I've already been seeing a lot of AI rendered plans that look exactly the same. And this has the same style as what we're seeing on the screen right now. It has the same kind of rendering, the same kind of texture and everything. So how do we actually control AI to stylize the drawing and to give us results that are not just generic, but artistic in a sense, stylistic, but also have control over what we are generating? So let's take the same example, but this time let's write a JSON prompt for this. In case you don't know how to write a JSON prompt, let me show you how it's done. Let's go into ChatGPT, start a new chat, and let's ask ChatGPT to write the JSON prompt to render black and white floor plan of a residence into textured, realistic top view details in a modern style. And let's click right. So as you can see, this has given us a much more detailed prompt than what we usually do in natural language. So the prompt basically says that, transform the provided black and white drawing into a detailed floor plan of a residence. Let me actually just copy it here and add it into this same chat. So if you read through the JSON prompt that ChatGPT has generated, it says that, so it says transform the black and white plan into a highly detailed top view render. And it also mentions things like maintain the consistency and the line work of the residence, add realistic materials, wooden flooring and polished materials and concrete. And it also has a negative prompt, things that which we do not want on the rendering. And as you mentioned earlier, it has broken down the elements of the flow plan into multiple categories like styles, camera, lighting, materials, details, and it keeps going on. So this will vary based on what kind of rendering we want to create. Each category is also added things like flooring, wood, and countertop. So all these details are going to influence the output that we want to generate. So before doing that, let's actually type in to render this floor plan based on this JSON prompt. And if you click run, and this one is obviously going to take you a little longer than the previous one. Now take a look at this. Let's download it and add both of them onto chat and look at it. Now, the biggest advantage of this technique here is this. Let's say you don't like the wooden flooring, right? So you want to change it into a dark wood herringbone pattern flooring. All you have to do is to just edit this, and here we have flooring, light wood, both polished concrete, right? So let's change this into herringbone dark wood. Let's say you want to change marbles as well. Let's change it into black marble. And if you click rerun, there we can see that this output has only changed the specific part of the floor plan. So this has changed this into a dark herringbone pattern, as well as the marble has been replaced into a black marble texture here. So this technique can actually help you have a lot more control on your renderings. So what I would suggest is
instead of writing prompts like this, always try to write JSON prompt, because this clearly differentiates just another rendered image and a rendering that actually gives you control and takes you closer to the kind of output that you want. And having control over the outputs is extremely important, especially when we are working with flow plans, sections, or any other kind of technical drawings. So we just saw this technique to create a JSON prompt, but there's also a technique to extract a JSON prompt from any image that you want. Say, for instance, you have an image of a rendering like this, and you want to extract the JSON prompt of this specific image, right? So you want this AI to take the style of this image and give you in a JSON prompt, in a JSON format, which you can further edit, and that can be done as well. So all you have to do is to just add that image into Google AI Studio. Just make sure that you have chosen images and text a JSON prompt. Let's ask the platform to write a JSON prompt, this rendering style. So there we can see that the platform has basically taken this image and it has broken down the image into multiple categories like the rendering style, the color palette, edge, typography, and everything. So all we have to do is to just copy the JSON prompt and let's add the original flow plan that we used here. Let's drag and drop it here, and let's say render this flow plan based on this JSON prompt. Now it's also important that you read through the JSON prompt just so we know what elements we want to remove. Say, for instance, all these are fine, like we have the wall color, flow colors, and edge colors, right? So if you look at this thing right here, it says element logo G with name. We do not want that. So this has basically also added this kind of like a logo part that is there on the original flow plan. So we do not want that. So let's remove this one and it's good to go. So maybe like we will change the resolution to 2K. The aspect ratio is auto, and let's click run. We have the result and we can see that the platform has applied the style of the reference image into this specific flow plan that we have. Now, of course, it's not perfect. The colors are slightly different from what we have, but that can be adjusted as well. All we have to do is to just to download this and look for the specific kind of color in Photoshop. Maybe like we will select this color and copy it and add it into the original prompt that is there. So you can simply change the background color and rerun this, and this will give us a different output with the updated color option. So the point here is that this technique will give you a lot more control than just typing the prompt. There we can see that the color has been updated now. It's always a trial and error technique, but having control over your drawings and the output is far more important in architectural workflows. And to make things easier for you, we've already built 50 plus prompts, and we've included over 20 JSON prompts from multiple styles that you can simply copy and paste for the best results.
And that brings us to the end of the masterclass. By now, you should be able to take any floor plan drawing in AutoCAD and turn it into any visual style that you prefer. But most importantly, you now have a structured workflow that you can take and repeat for any project that you want. What we explored here is not just a tool of NanoBun, but it's more about how we approach visual communication as an architect and a designer. The tools will evolve and new workflows will come about, but how you understand the structure and workflow stay the same. My suggestion to you is to not just stop with these prompts. Try to experiment with these, mix and match multiple prompt styles, and try to find a unique style and voice for yourself. This will help you truly stand out from the noise of AI-generated content on the internet today. And always keep in mind to take AI as a design tool and not let it take decisions on its own. The job of the designer today is to direct the AI and get the specific results that we want. If you found this masterclass to be helpful, please leave a review on the Gumroad page. That truly helps us share this knowledge to a lot of architects and designers. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or you need help on any specific topics. Also let me know what are the AI workflows that you would like to see so we can frame them for the next set of workshops. And if you create something using these prompts and workflow, feel free to tag me so I can share your work with the rest of the world. You can follow me on Instagram and the handle is right here. I hope to see you on the next update.